Well, here we are with part 6 of the SSH series, and this is the SSH_config, which is the configuration file for the SSH client. So before I get into that, I think I'll actually log in on my server over SSH, which I'm sure you've seen before. It's probably nothing new, but just for a quick review, I've already got it set up here. So I'll go ahead and log in. This is from the issue.net text, and I go ahead and log in, and once I'm in, there we go. It says bast at bast. First one is the user, second one is the host, and if you scroll back here, you can see how I have it set up. I'm going SSH into port 9923 hyphen capital X, so I can push an X session or application over SSH, the username at, and then the local IP. Then I'm on the system. And there it is. Bast is the local user and also the SSH user. Not much to it. So I'm going to shut down the server because it's still in the process of being configured. I just want to have something to remote into. And that should turn off. There we go, we're back to Anubis, which is my computer. One thing I want to cover is if you want to test your connection, you can also SSH in locally. So I'm going to do port 9922, localhost. And now it's giving me that line right there because I've not logged into this machine before using that method. So it wants to add the keys. And now I'm on Anubis. I can go ahead and log in. And there we go, I'm on it. Same deal. So exit, now I'm back to the local machine. And there we go. The other session is gone. You can see on the PTS/1, that's no longer there. That was my SSH session. So that's pretty much that. Here we are back at this screen that we've seen before, and this is the path to the SSH config file for the client, and of course in the next video we're going to do the SSHD_config for the server. So continuing on to the config file for the client, let's take a look at that. And here we have /x11 trusted, we have yes, we have those set to no. Now there's a couple different ways you can authenticate. I have mine set to password. I know that some people would say that's not as secure, that the using the keys is a much safer way, and I will agree with that in the sense that you're not going to send anything over clear text like a password, because SSH is secure once you log into it. So in that sense, using the keys is a better option. However, if someone gets local physical access to your machine or your keyring, then they have access to all that information, whereas if you use passwords and using a different password on each system, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get into, versus if they have access to your keyring in your account and they enter one password, they get access to everything. So there's pros and cons to both. I do use keys, I also use passwords. It just kind of depends on what I'm doing. This particular one, I have it locked down to only SSH from this client machine to the server locally, so I'm using a password. There's no internet availability to SSH to the outside world, so I'm not too concerned with using passwords in that case. So again, pros and cons, use what you prefer, but the configuration that you're seeing here is for password. and host-based authentication is set to no. And then we go down a little bit here, we can check the host IP, yes. Address family is set to any. You can certainly lock that down to a certain IP block. Connect timeout 0, you can change that if you want. The strict host key checking set to ask, and then here's those files. This is mainly for keys. Here's the port on this particular system. On the other one, it's 9923. Protocol, this is for the client now, not the server. So the client is set in this case to work with protocols 2 and 1. On the server, it would just be set up like this, so it would only allow 2. So don't worry that it says 2, 1 in it like this, because that's the client side. And on the client side, I'm using both, or have access to both protocols. Obviously 2 is better than 1. It's a lot more secure and safer. Down at the very bottom of this configuration, these two are not in there. I added them. Basically what they do is they do a keep alive session so that the client doesn't time out, and it just sends a keep alive signal every so often so that it stays connected. And not a whole lot to the client side other than those things. You can again use keys, use passwords, configure it however you want. You can use a different cipher if you want. Totally configurable however you wish to do it. You can enable the tunneling, etc., etc. This is how I have mine configured, and hopefully it'll give you something to start from and go from there. Thanks. See you on the next video.